we've come tonight to discuss a very, very serious issue. We have discussed Kashmir a number of times within the group, and we know there's a all-party group on both Kashmir and Pakistan and India in this house. But we look at specific issues tonight. It is discussion on human rights.
Well, here we are again. It's an annual event of Black Day, which is commemorated by the Kashmiri community around the world every year. The day that the Indian forces were brought into Kashmir, allegedly to protect Kashmiris from what they call then the Pakistani's aggression in 1947. It was supposed to protect the Kashmiri people. The Indian government has always said that they had received a request from the Maharaja for that protection. But I have to say, not only me, but many historians, such as Alistair Lamb, has said in his research that there's no evidence of the Maharaja's former request ever been produced by the Indian government. In fact, Alistair Lamb writes that the Indian government claims that they had received a request on 26th of October 1947, and they brought their armies in the next day, the 27th. Whereas the Maharaja had left Srinagar by road to Jammu, and it was impossible. Those who know the mountain terrain and the areas by road from Srinagar to Jammu, it was not practically possible to track down the Maharaja, get an instrument signed, and give it to the New Delhi government. That is Alistair Lamb's research, and I fully agree with that. And even now, even the British government, or the Indian government I should say, produces such a document, I am the first person to challenge it. It will be bogus. However, when the Indian army did come in to protect Kashmiris, they were unable to control the unrest. And as it's been said already, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, ran to the United Nations asking for a ceasefire and promised a vote which would take place at the end for the Kashmiris to decide about the future. UN resolutions were passed on the request of India, and Indian government made pledges after pledges. They're on the record that their army is in Kashmir temporarily, and they will only stay there until the peace is restored. And at the end, and these are the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, well documented, that at the end there will be a vote, and even if the Kashmiris decided to stay separate from India, India is prepared to swallow that sour pill. And it's not once, not twice, it's not 10 times. This promise, pledge, was repeated by many Indian politicians for many years, until they thought, well, now we've got the grip on Kashmir, and we can change our mind. And they call it integral part. Oh, Kashmiris have started taking part in the local elections, therefore they're happy with our democracy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, who knows more than the British people? We have seen a recent vote in Scotland. Scottish people were voting for the British Parliament, they were voting for the local elections, they were voting for the European elections, and they were voting for the Scottish Parliament. But when it comes to decide about the future, the British government was not obliged by any international law to give them that right. No UN resolutions were placed in Scotland's case, but we thought it was the right thing to do. And I'm glad that we did. And I'm glad that the Scottish people made the right decision too, at the end, to stay within the Union. We would like them, we want to keep them as a part of the United Kingdom. But India uses that excuse to keep control on Kashmir. Oh, just because they are taking part in the election. Well, that's a very different thing. It is not substitute to the right of self-determination. And in fact, that wasn't enough. The Indian government brought their army more in 1990 with special powers granted, protected by the Armed Forces Special Power Act of Indian Parliament, which gives the army complete license to kill. And this is not my words. My friends, you're all educated people, politicians. You can go on Google and find yourself. Those laws, such as the Armed Forces Special Power Act and the Public Safety Act, they cannot be challenged in any court of law. And the result, the Indian army has killed more than 100,000 people. They have captured so many people from their own homes. And the next day you will find their bodies on the lower side. They have taken people away. And they have not been seen for months and years. And according to the UN, according to the Amnesty International last report, which was called the Lawless Law, there's a catalogue of thousands of such cases. Rape cases, mass graves, people being pulled out of their houses, and their family, children are running around finding where their loved ones are. Are they in those mass graves? Are they being killed and thrown in the river Jhelum? Are they still lying in some dark cell in Indian jails? Nobody knows. This is the situation that we are up in. And according to the report, the very simple looking Public Safety Act, one can be detained for up to 2 years. And again, a reference to the Lawless Law report. It says that act has been used against individuals again and again and again. So if one is caught under that act, it will be kept for 2 years, and before it runs out, they will take him out from one door and bring him back from the second door, and another 2 years. And according to the report, some people are being detained for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and in fact, in Shabir Shah's case, 23 years.
Shame, shame.
That is a democracy. That is the largest democracy on earth. Do we call it a democracy? My friends, we have to ask ourselves. An army which has killed more than 100,000 people, which there are more than 25,000, well, there are hundreds of thousands of people who have been detained for some period or the other under one of these acts. Not a single family in the Indian occupied Kashmir, particularly Muslim community, without somebody being killed or arrested. And this is going on a daily basis. And there are other laws too, like TADA, which was mentioned. What we have to say, these are unprecedented laws. Yes, these laws are used, and armies have been sent to Punjab, Tripura, and Nagaland as well in the past. But those have been smaller periods, shorter periods. Army has been sent in Punjab for a short period with those powers. And we know what they did in Punjab too, but for a short time. My friends, since 1990, 24 consecutive years, that army has been there at a rampage. Full license to kill. And they are doing their job well. They've killed so many people. And India has absolute no desire to lift that draconian law or bring the army back at all. I think we have a duty as humanitarians for human rights. Why we ignore those human rights? If they were in Europe, would we ignore them? Well, we don't ignore many places. Why are we ignoring Kashmir? Mr. Chairman, I suggest from this platform and any other platform that I work from, I say to them, let us write to the Indian Prime Minister and ask him. And we can do it on this platform, we can do it individually, members of parliament, that why does he think we should not report him to the International Criminal Court? And also, I suggest, Mr. Chairman, I have suggested it to one or two other committees that I'm a member of, that we should write to our own Prime Minister, asking him that if we can give a right to decide about the future of the Scottish people, why are not we able to write the same to Narendra Modi and asking him to do the same for Kashmir? Thank you.